Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom. We are along Hijikata's route, and we are on chapter 4 with him. We're standing here speaking with Kimikiku. Let's finish off this conversation and progress. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Kimikiku's logic was sound. Hijikata had no counter-argument. Everyone in the room had fallen silent. But was it true? Were the Furies indeed cutting people down in the street for the thrill of killing? If the Fury Corps was disbanded, then Sanan and Heisuke would... Everyone of us waited for Hijikata's answer with bated breath. My heart roared in my ears. I suppose we can table this for the moment. There was something else I must discuss. With this, she turned and looked at me. Chizuru, will you please leave with us? What? Hadn't we already covered this last time she came to visit? I know we spoke before, but the situation has changed. You do understand that, don't you? Soon more will break out in Kyoto. If you're going to escape, this is your chance. I knew war was coming, but to hear the truth presented so badly was jarring. I don't believe the Shinsengumi will be able to protect you once the war begins. Please come with us. Oh, ye of little faith. Wait a minute. Are you suggesting we can't handle it? The truth is sometimes hard to accept. If Kazuma returns, can you protect her from him? What if he comes to call while you're locked in battle elsewhere against the Satsuma and Choshu? Will you be able to protect her then? Hijikata scowled but said nothing. And in any event, she is a demon, not a human. She should be with her own kind. We can protect her. She turned from Hijikata to face me once again. You see, you should come with us. Then you can concentrate wholly on the battles to come. Her words hit like blows, but she spoke the truth. War would soon break out, and perhaps remaining with the Shinsengumi would be dangerous for me and for them. I would be useless in a war. I was no soldier. Even so, I wanted to stay. I looked over at Hijikata, hoping he might give me an answer. Don't look away from me like that! He only furrowed his brow and looked the other way, saying nothing. What was I to do? Say should leave. Should, but don't wanna. I was sure Sam was right, and I should leave, but the words just couldn't come. In truth, I didn't want to leave. I hoped that maybe someday all the madness and war would end, and that I could be a human being, not a demon. What do you say? You really ought to leave. You'll be much safer with us. Her voice was kind, and I knew she had only my best interests at heart, but I still couldn't bring myself to respond. Hijikata, of course, saw straight through me. You don't want to leave, do you? Huh? Then stay. What's there to think about? But is that really okay? If Kazuma came after me again... I'm not going to repeat myself. Or are you suggesting the Shinsengumi can't handle this? No, of course not. It's just, if I stay here and I cause trouble for you guys, then... Well, what proof do you have that these two can keep you a secret any better than we can? Even if he wasn't after you, that bastard would be an enemy of ours. If we've got the same enemies, it makes sense to me that we'd stick together. He was as gruff as ever, but it wasn't hard to understand what he was trying to say. So, I can stay? What the hell kind of question is that? If you were as much of a pain in the ass as you seem to think, I would have kicked you out a long time ago. Thanks for the encouraging words. Relief flooded out across my body. Thank you so much. With war set to break out at any time, the Shinsengumi was changing. I didn't know how useful I could be to them once battle was joined, but even so, Hijikata had told me it was okay to stay. Huh. So you've turned me down again then, have you? Sen looked at me with a slightly sad smile as I walked her and Kimikiku out of the meeting room. I'm sorry. It was very nice of you to offer, though. Oh, it's all right. If you're so determined to stay, then what could I ever hope to do? And then, there was only one tiny thing, though. I wanted to ask you, when you told me before that you were, interested in someone, Did you perchance mean Hijikata? What? I wasn't quite sure how to answer that question. Well, to be honest, I don't really know Hijikata that well, but... I stumbled over my words, not quite sure how to explain to her how I felt, perhaps because I wasn't quite sure myself. The men call him the Demon because he's so strict and hard with soldiers. A lot of people think that he doesn't care about anyone, and that he's cold, but I think he has a kind heart in there. He has a lot of responsibilities, and the whole Shinsengumi rides on his back. I don't think he has any choice but to act like that. I don't know what I can do for him, but I want to stay here and do whatever I can. Sen had been nodding encouragingly and making little hmms of agreement, but now she suddenly burst out laughing. Well, I dare say he has captured you quite thoroughly. What? They say that my ancestor Suzuka Gozen fell in love with a human by the name of Tamuramaro Sakanoe and followed him to the capital. I am, in fact, their granddaughter, so I suppose I know something of how you feel. Circumstance and rank mean little before the power of love. What? Wait, what? Love? I never meant... She only rested her hand on my shoulder and continued. You may be two different creatures, human and demon, but do not think that means your love is doomed to failure. Best of luck to you, Chizuru. I shall be cheering for you. My lady, we should go. Oh, yes, you're right. Then, I must take my leave, dear Chizuru. Do take care. You mustn't underestimate Kazuma. He is terribly powerful. All right, thank you. Goodbye. In mere moments, they were gone. Circumstance and rank mean little before the power of love. But was this thing I felt, the desire to be close to Hijikata, was that really love? I just wanted to be around him and help him. Besides, the most important thing to Hijikata was the Shinsengumi. He'd built it up from nothing and put everything he was into it. The war with the Satsuma and Choshu brewing, he hadn't the time to think of anything else. That being the case, as someone under the care of the Shinsengumi, I needed to think of how I could best put my own skills to use. Just before the beginning of the new year, Okita's condition worsened. It was determined that he had contracted pulmonary tuberculosis. It was not an uncommon disease, but it was incurable. I suspected that he might be seriously ill when he began to lose his strength, but I never guessed that tuberculosis was the cause. The entire Shinsengumi was shocked and saddened by the news. Devastated. Oh, no, can't skip. Kyoto was still on high alert. The Shinsengumi remained on standby at the Fushimi Magistrate's office through the year-end celebrations. My hope that tempers would calm and the threat of war would fade lasted until 3 days after the new year. A dispute arose between the Satsuma domain and a group of shogunate troops attempting to enter Kyoto. Violence broke out and suddenly war was upon us. The shogunate army in Kyoto numbered roughly 15,000 men, while the Satsuma-Choshu alliance commanded only 5,000. Victory for the shogun should have been a foregone conclusion. The Satsuma and Choshu, however, had bet their very livelihoods on this war, and determination and morale were high. Perhaps more importantly, the Satsuma had faced the British in battle, and the Choshu had faced the British, French, and Dutch. Both domains had learned modern Western tactics. Armed with only swords against the Satsuma and Choshu's rifles, the Shinsengumi were at a tremendous disadvantage. During the war, the Fushimi Magistrate's office was set on fire, and the Shinsengumi had no choice but to retreat from Kyoto.
Oh, are you alright? Perhaps you should rest.
No, I'm fine. We can't afford to stop. I'll be alright. I wiped the sweat from my brow, took a deep breath, and forced my throbbing feet to move. We were on our way to Yodo Castle, under orders from Hijikata. The Shinsengumi was doing poorly, so we'd been dispatched to bring reinforcements. Do you really think the people at Yodo Castle will help us out? If they haven't betrayed us yet.
They have to. We need the help. And so does Hijikata. We can't lose. I never want to see him like that again.
I remembered the battle at Fushimi all too clearly. On the evening of the third day of the new year, the war began, cannons pounding the Fushimi magistrate's office, and the ground shook with each impact.
Hijikata, we can't take any more of this. That cannon up on the hill is tearing us apart. If we try to go up there, their guns will mow us down before we even get close.
Their rifles have impressive range, and the gunners are skilled. 1 out of every 2 shots finds its mark, despite the distance.
Where's Shinpachi? I can't find him. He took 15 men from the 2nd Division to attack the enemy line.
Attack the enemy line? Is he insane? He's gonna die out there! I could see muscles working in Hijikata's jaw, but he said nothing. His face was pale, although whether from fear or tension I couldn't tell. Outside, the roar of cannons continued unabated, just when it seemed certain that Nagakura must have perished.
He's smiling. Hey guys, I'm back.
Shinpachi! Cries of surprise filled the room.
You're alive. What? Do I look like I'm a ghost? Go ahead and touch me if you don't believe me.
He grinned as he wiped a thick smear of blood and dirt from his face.
Anyway, it's impossible to get to the enemy line. Some Aizu guys went on ahead of us, but I heard they got pushed back too. Commander, there's nothing else we can do. Please order the retreat.
His brow furrowed, and he scowled furiously.
Whoa, what's this? Where's the smoke coming from? The cannon must have set the building on fire. We need to get out of here or we're dead. Hijikata, we have to retreat.
Even Nagakura's plea seemed to fall on deaf ears.
Toshi.
Until this moment, the Shinsengumi had never known defeat in battle, but they were helpless against the firearms of the Satsuma and Choshu. The Shinsengumi was Hijikata's life. Defeat was hard to accept. After what seemed like an eternity, he let out a long, ragged sigh.
I guess this is the end. Nobody can win a war with swords and spears anymore.
His knuckles turned white. There were several more minutes of tense, breathless silence before he finally looked up, his eyes burning with fury.
We're pulling back. But we haven't lost. They'll pay for this.
Fury wasn't the only thing in his eyes. Behind them I could see a bitter, desperate agony.
I've been with him for a long time. I know how hard it was for the man to admit that he had to retreat.
Inoue gazed up at the sky.
One loss is enough. I'm not nearly as good a swordsman as Kondo.
What? No, don't say. He interrupted me with a kind smile and continued.
But there are still ways for me to be of use to the Shinsengumi. So let's keep our hopes up, shall we?
Okay. The Shinsengumi and Kondo and Hijikata needed my help. I had to do whatever I could. It took us several hours to reach Yodo Castle. Hijikata's hope was to use the castle as a new staging area where he could garrison our troops and launch ambushes from. Unfortunately... That's weird. Why are the gates closed? Do you think they're already preparing for battle? There were no guards outside the castle, or indeed anywhere we could see. It was uncomfortably quiet. Careful.
No.
He stood for a moment, absently rubbing his chin in thought, before finally making a decision.
We are here on the orders of the Shogun. We have come to request your help in battle against the rebels who would dare challenge the country's rightful rulers.
His voice echoed out through the stillness, but no one responded. I had almost begun to think the castle was simply abandoned when... Oh, look! There's someone in that window! Huh? They got something shiny. Eee! Gun!
Get down!
Huh? Inoue grabbed me by the wrist and pulled me down just as gunshots echoed from the castle walls. My eyes darted around, but there were no rebels nearby. That meant that the bullets were meant for us. What's going on? I thought the Yodo were friendly.
Either they've already been overrun by the rebels, or they don't want to ally with the side they think is going to lose. We need to go back to the men. It's dangerous to stay here.
But Hijikata told us to go get reinforcements from Yodo. Well, obviously that ain't happening. Inoue only shook his head.
It's clear by now that they're no longer our allies. The longer we stay here, the more danger I put you in.
But if we leave, then what's going to happen to Hijikata? What's going to happen to the Shinsengumi? Let's just try and talk to them. If we explain what's going on, I'm sure they'll understand. That's not how war works, Chizuru. I've never seen Inoue glare at me before. That doesn't even look like a glare.
That is enough. I want to go back to Toshi with reinforcements as much as you do.
I felt myself wilt under his anger.
But my job here was twofold, to ask for reinforcements and to protect you. If something happens to you now, then I will have failed him twice. Now come on.
There was nothing I could say. Inoue had fought alongside Hijikata since their first days in Edo, before the Shinsengumi. He had undoubtedly felt even more devastated by Yodo's betrayal than I had, but he had still chosen to retreat so that he might protect me. Never before had I felt so ashamed and so helpless. There was nothing I could do. I'm sorry. I'm useless. I failed. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I brushed them away roughly.
Don't worry about it. After all, this is Toshi we're talking about. I'm sure he'll come up with some amazing plan and turn this whole thing around.
He laid his hand on my shoulder and gave it a gentle, reassuring squeeze. I focused on the warmth in his hand and felt myself begin to calm down. Your hand is warm. It reminds me of when my father used to pat me on the head when I was a little girl. Inoue's face wrinkled as he laughed.
Father, huh? I guess if I'd had a daughter, she would be your age right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong?
Oh, no, not at all. I would have been honored to have a daughter like you. Now, we should be going. I'm sure the men we left behind will be worried if we aren't back soon.
Okay. Way to call him old, Chizuru. What? We were nearly to the location where we'd last left the soldiers, but something felt wrong. Were they supposed to be here? Did we get lost?
No, we couldn't have. It should be just up ahead.
Then, as we rounded the corner, I noticed something lying on the ground. Inoue! There's someone over here!
No, impossible. The rebels couldn't have gotten here already.
He's wearing Shinsengumi blues. Could he...
Stay quiet. We don't want to give ourselves away.
I nodded. Could the Satsuma Choshu Alliance already have troops here? If they did, they were hiding them very well. Neither Inoue nor I could sense anyone nearby. No rebels, but no Shinsengumi either. Ah! Then we came around another bend in the road and I gasped. Warriors in blue jackets of the Shinsengumi were piled up along the road, dead where they'd fallen. And standing in the middle of the carnage. You!
Oh, I thought these men looked familiar. You are here.
Ah, Kazuma, I love you. Why'd you have to do this? Kazuma's smile was a cruel, mocking thing. You! Why? I was so furious I could barely speak.
To see what the Yodo domain had decided to do. It seems following tedious politics has at last paid off. Oh, I never thought I might find you.
I felt his eyes on me, like those of a snake staring down at its prey, before they shifted to take in the dead men that littered the ground around him.
Oh, I thought they might entertain me until you returned, but they weren't even skilled enough to do that.
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Inoue shake with rage. No, stay back, Inoue, enough men have died. Most of the men who lay on the ground in front of us were members of his 6th Division. And now, because I had chosen to stay with the Shinsengumi, Kazuma had returned and Inoue's men were dead. Kazuma had taken their lives, and for what?
I was otherwise engaged during our last encounter, Chizuru. But this time, you'll be leaving with me.
Kazuma had demonic powers that put him in a class above any mortal man. 2 skilled swordsmen working in concert might be able to hold him back, but not defeat him. Inoue and I would not be able to defeat him, nor, I suspected, would he allow us to escape. If I surrendered to him, however, then he might let Inoue leave. I stepped forward and steeled myself.
Stay back.
Inoue moved forward to put himself between me and Kazuma. No, Inoue! Inoue? What are you doing?
I'm sorry, but you'll have to run for it. Get back to headquarters and tell Toshi. Tell him that I apologize for my incompetence, and that I hope he will forgive me for not staying with him to the end. Tell him that I don't have the words to thank him for giving a man like me the chance to be a part of something I'll never forget what he did for me.
No, I can't do that. I won't just leave you here to die. I choked out a sob and blinked away, sudden tears. This man is after me. If I go with him, then you can live. Please. Inoue's smile was bitter.
Well, are you suggesting I should use a girl for a shield so that I can escape? How could I call myself a warrior then? Besides, what parent wouldn't lay down their life to protect their child? No father wants to see his daughter die before he does.
But... Inoue had finished talking, though. He turned his back to me and drew his sword. Suddenly, I remembered the conversation we'd had on the way back from Yodo Castle. He told me that he was old enough to have a daughter my age. No, I cried to myself, that doesn't mean that he has to do this. How could he throw his life away? Please, Inoue, run! I screamed and pleaded, but his back didn't move.
Finished with your farewells? Then I'll give you a chance to take her up on her offer. Go on, run.
Kazuma let his hand fall from the hilt of his undrawn sword. Inoue launched himself at Kazuma and swung his sword down in a wide arc toward the demon's neck. Kazuma's sword slithered out of its scabbard, too fast for the eye to follow. His hand simply blurred, and the tip of his blade emerged from Inoue's back. Blood bubbled out between his lips. Inoue! He fell to his knees, the deep red stain rapidly devouring the light blue of his jacket. Kazuma's eyes flickered like sparks, and he bent down to whisper to Inoue.
Is something the matter, human? Aren't the men I just slaughtered your subordinates? Don't you want to take revenge for them? I understand warriors put great stock in avenging the deaths of their comrades in arms.
Inoue glared back at him with white-hot rage and leapt to his feet. Wow, I'm surprised he's still up. He lashed out furiously at the demon, blood splattering onto the ground beneath him. Kazuma simply laughed, then stepped easily around Inoue's swinging sword. I didn't even see him strike. There was only the momentary flicker of sunlight on the blade, and blood erupted from a gash across Inoue's chest. You know, Chizuru, you're totally wasting Inoue's actions by staying here and watching this.
My apologies. I may have hit a little too hard.
He ground his teeth, trying desperately to overcome the pain, and turned a strained gaze to me. Why are you still here, Chizuru?
What are you doing? Run!
Droplets of blood flew from his mouth as he cried out, and his face was already waxing and pale. I scrambled to my feet and turned to leave.
My. Of all the humans I've fought, you are by far the weakest. Why would the Shinsengumi allow someone so pathetic among their ranks, I wonder? Though I suppose they are rather eccentric.
I felt something inside me snap. Stop! Don't! As I cried out, I heard the awful sound of steel slicing through flesh. Time slowed to a crawl, and I could do nothing but watch as Inoue fell, without a cry, to the ground. Inoue! Inoue! Even as part of my mind screamed at me to run, I scrambled toward him, grabbing for his hand. It was still warm. A warmth like my father. But Inoue's eyes no longer saw. His ears no longer heard. He had joined his men among the corpses on the road.
Now, this pest is dealt with. There is no one else to save you. Come.
He flicked his sword clean and slid it back into its scabbard. Then he stepped forward and reached for my hand. I am going to get revenge. I don't know how, but we're going to try. Inoue had told me to run. Hijikata needed to hear his last words, and I was in no position to fight a demon. I knew all this, and I could hear a part of my mind screaming at me to run, but the roaring flames of rage drowned it out. How could I have let him die to protect me? Inoue was so kind. Just looking at his lifeless body sprawled in the dirt made my heart feel as though it would shatter into 1,000 pieces. But more than anything, I hated Kazuma for killing my friend as if he was nothing more than an irritating insect. I grabbed desperately for my kodachi and pulled it from its scabbard, bringing it up into an attack position.
I thought you were smarter than this. But I see now your time with the humans has poisoned your mind. You disappoint me.
Shut up! Hot tears rolled down my cheeks.
Why are you so upset? Does it bother you that I swatted this fly? He was human, and he was foolish enough to challenge a demon. What other outcome could there have been?
Shut up! Shut up! Never in my life had I spoken to someone like that. But never in my life had I so wanted to kill someone. If only I had been able to transform my wrath into strength, I would have been the strongest creature alive. I can never forgive you for what you've done. Please, Inoue, give me the strength to strike him down. I tightened my grip on my sword, my knuckles white, and I leapt toward Kazuma with a yell. Contemptuously, he slapped my strike aside. My kodachi flew out of my hands and clattered to the ground. I reached out to grab it again. Ugh! Kazuma's foot came down on my arm, and pain shot through it.
Enough of this stupid game.
His red, arrogant eyes burned into mine. The eyes of the monster who had killed Inoue.
You do not seem to understand who your master is. That is unfortunate. Perhaps I should punish you, so that you'll never defy me again.
I felt the cold steel of his sword on my throat.
Pain is an excellent tool for discipline. Fortunately, your body heals very quickly.
Damn you! I glared at Kazuma with all the anger I could muster, but all I got in return was a cruel smile. Inoue had told me to run, but I hadn't, and now I couldn't. Kazuma was right about one thing: I couldn't escape from him. If I couldn't escape, then at least I could refuse to give him the satisfaction of being a compliant victim. Am I going to kill myself? If all you're going to do is use me however you like, then I might as well bite off my own tongue and drown in my own blood.
Don't remember giving you permission to do that. I don't much care for people who can't follow orders.
The moment I heard that voice, my head suddenly cleared. There was no way I could mistake it. It was... Hijikata! I felt tears spring to my eyes again, but for a very different reason. This was no dream, no hallucination. Toshizo Hijikata stood in front of me.
Damn it. I had a feeling you guys were in trouble, but...
He stopped just as his voice was about to crack, and simply looked at Inoue's body, his face twisted with grief and regret. Hijikata's jaw tightened, and his breast shook as if he were about to cry. I knew what I was about to say would hurt him, but he had to hear it. Inoue wanted me to tell you something. He said that he wanted to apologize for his incompetence, and wanted you to forgive him for not staying with you until the end. There was a lump in my throat, and my eyes burned, but I had to keep going. He said I didn't have the words to thank you for giving a man like him the chance to be a part of something, and that he'd never forget what you did for him. As I choked out the final words, I began to sob. Hijikata said nothing. Slowly, almost as if in prayer, he bowed his head. When he lifted it again, his eyes were changed. They shone now with brilliant fires of rage. With tight, deliberate purpose, he gripped his sword, Izumi no Kami Kanesada, and whispered through the air as he raised it to an attack stance.
Another human who wishes to throw his life away. It's difficult for me to understand why your kind is so anxious to die. I was hoping I've seen the last of this idiocy. Very well, let's get this over with.
Kazuma's voice was bored, but as he spoke, the fire in Hijikata's eyes grew into a raging furnace.
Throw his life away? You piece of crap! How dare you say that he threw his life away?
Hijikata roared his wordless fury and launched himself toward Kazuma. With all his weight behind the blade, he struck at the demon's neck. Wow, actually surprised him. Kazuma flicked his sword up to catch Hijikata's. For a moment, it looked as though they were evenly matched. And then Kazuma was thrown back.
What?
From the look on his face, it was likely the first time he'd ever found himself overpowered by a human, and he was stunned. Hijikata didn't let that opening go to waste. He pushed forward, his sword hissing back and forth through the air as if possessed. Just moments ago, Kazuma's face had been calm and serene, now it was warped with frustration and surprise. Hijikata, by contrast, wore a manic grin, and his blade slammed again and again into Kazuma's with more strength than I'd ever seen before.
I never thought I would show this form to a mere human. Be honored, mortal. The moment your eyes behold a true demon is the moment of your death.
And with that, the battle changed. Kazuma's sword hummed and flickered through the air with ease, far faster and smoother than it had been a moment ago. It was all Hijikata could do to anticipate and block his strikes, leaving him no time to try and land an offensive blow of his own.
Where's that fire you had a moment ago? Is this the most you can muster for the dead insect?
Kazuma's demonic strength and endurance were beginning to show. He wasn't even breathing hard.
Damn.
Hijikata, however, was quickly running short of breath. All Kazuma had to do was wait for him to tire and...
God damn it!
He threw his full strength behind his sword and lunged at Kazuma one more time. The demon anticipated his blow easily and twisted to the side as Hijikata's blade swept past him. Kazuma's hand snapped out and Hijikata's sword fell, clattering to the ground. Hijikata! In my mind's eye, I could already see him crumpling to the dirt, just as Inoue had done, a slow puddle of blood growing underneath his still warm body. I had to do something. I couldn't let him die too. But I was utterly and completely helpless. Useless. He fell to his knees, chest heaving. Sweat rolled down his forehead in streams, and the cloth of his shirt was soaked. Kazuma lifted his sword and pointed it at Hijikata.
This is the end for you.
His mouth curved up into a cold, confident smile.
Humans are such fools. They will try to fight what they cannot defeat. I call that reckless, not courage. You have underestimated the power of a demon and chosen not to fear us. I hope your last thoughts are of shame at your ignorance.
As Kazuma spoke, Hijikata dragged his tired body across the ground toward his fallen sword.
What's this? Trying to run?
Hijikata had reached his sword. With the last ounce of the strength he possessed, he lifted it up once again and turned to face his foe.
You won't bow, will you? I've made a fool of you, and yet you refuse to acknowledge the difference between us.
No. Hijikata was not the sort of man to care about a difference in strength, but neither was he the sort of man that would simply abandon victory. So why, then, had he not responded? As I watched, he pulled out something from inside his shirt. No! Ah! A tiny bottle filled with red liquid.
The water of life, eh? How far do you mean to take this idiocy?
Hijikata replied with a toothy grin.
I'm an idiot, huh? Like I give a crap what you think. We were always a pack of idiots. We shared an idiot's dream that we were all too bullheaded to give up on, and now here we are. We're halfway up the hill. If we stumble now, we're gonna fall all the way back down. Even if you become a fury, you'll be nothing more than a faded reflection of a true demon.
Hijikata's grin never wavered.
Well, you never know till you try.
Hijikata, no! My cries fell on deaf ears. Hijikata lifted the bottle to his lips and drank. And there's our beautiful fury, Hijikata.
Shut up.
Hijikata's voice rumbled out from the fury, dark and low like approaching thunder.
I've had enough of those cowards in the shogunate, and I'm sick of your goddamn demons. So, I'm not a real demon. Why the hell should I care?
Okay, and there we're gonna have to stop because This battle's going to go on for some time, and I have to quit at some point. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't stay up this late anymore. Alright, well, I hope to see you for the rest of this battle soon. Ugh, and hopefully my voice will be doing a little better next time. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.